Oh, there we go. Hey, Dodie. Do you have a few minutes to talk about a situation I'm dealing with in my class?
Of course, Mrs. Cotton.
I have 3 very challenging students in my second hour class who are struggling to focus on instruction, and they are also verbally disrupting my class daily. Their grades are really slipping, and I really want to do something to try to motivate them and eliminate the play within my class. Redirections and calls home have not been helpful nor successful, and they shouldn't be misbehaving after all this time. It's really, really frustrating.
Well, first let me say that you should never take students' inappropriate behavior personally. Know that we all have challenging students. What should be happening with the students clearly isn't your reality. Take a few minutes each day, gather yourself, step back a little and breathe. Response to intervention, or RTI, offers strategies that can help you make intentional plans that, with time and effort, can stimulate behavior modification, which will result in their academic improvement.
Okay, that sounds like more work on my part. I have a full class of 36.
Well, because RTI affects both behavior and academics, I would ask you to consider trying this course of action. Ultimately, you will not have lost time on task because you may already be using some research-based strategies that are part of RTI. Now you can focus on these 3 students who need more intensive interventions. You can have a look at the key problems you want to address, the end results or targets you want to achieve by the end of an instructional cycle, and then plan or choose research-based interventions that will move them in the direction that you want them to go in week by week in small increments with measurable increments that, and you can monitor the changes.
Of course, but I really don't see where I can find the time to put this in place during the course of a class session.
Well, RTI isn't a new invasive chore, so to speak. Think of it this way. Our students fall into 3 tiers. In Tier 1, where 80% or more students fall, these students will be receiving interventions for both their behaviors and academics right along with their peers in a typical class setting.
Okay.
In Tier 2, less than 10% of the students need more intense interventions that would take place in small groups. Hungry. In Tier 3, 5% or fewer students need the most intense or lengthier interventions, and this might be one-on-one sessions with you or specialized staff. These are the students most at risk academically or for consequences due to inappropriate behavior. Where do you think your 3 challenging students fall based on these RTI tier descriptions?
Well, since I have tried some behavioral interventions like seat changes, proximity, and home contacts, I think they're all Tier 2 students. What do I do next?
That's the attitude. We can blame ourselves for not doing enough or making mistakes, but where does that lead? To inaction. Think of what might be triggering the unwanted behavior, because that is definitely affecting their ability to focus on tasks. Try using a tool like an ABC observation form for a week, and I have those, where you can note the antecedent, which is the A, before the inappropriate behavior begins, and then B, what is the behavior that results based on the antecedent, and C, what's the consequence that results.
Okay.
This data alone will give you a clear picture of what interventions might be needed. The possibilities will vary in terms of what interventions will support their learning. If they're learning, then they won't have time to act out. In addition, be sure to communicate your plan of action with them, their parents, their counselor, or any specialized staff that might be directly involved in their progress, so that they are aware of your concerns and the interventions you're putting into place to support them. Remember, you're not alone. RTI is a team effort.
Okay, so the behavior intervention makes sense to me. What about the academic part? How does RTI help with academic concerns?
RTI addresses both behavior and academics. Like behavioral concerns, identify the key skills they struggle with the most. Then you can incorporate interventions. While their peers move on to independent tasks, you can pull those 3 students to a separate island or station for more guided practice, mini assessments, chunking materials, whatever research-based strategies you design or choose. Right away, these informal assessments can give you valuable feedback on what they know, understand, and can do. And if the interventions are working, you will see progress. If not, accept that truth without judging yourself and try a new research-based intervention that aligns with your standards and learning targets. Continue to monitor their progress, and if you see growth, continue with those approaches until those supports are no longer needed. That, in effect, will move them to tier 1 with the majority of their peers. If the interventions don't result in progress within a week or two, then consider shifting them up to tier 3, where they would need even more attention, perhaps independently. This can take place during longer independent practices after school, perhaps with a resource teacher if there's an IEP. Tier 3 typically involves individual or small cohort work to reach those preset academic targets. Ultimately, there is a way to blend RTI into your day-to-day or weekly structure to gain long-term results. We can always brainstorm intervention ideas if you like.
This is a lot of good information. I will have to do some serious thinking about this and how I can make it work in my classroom. I will follow up with you. Thank you.
You are so welcome anytime.